Hello, realtors, and welcome to the SCR Update, your go-to source for what's happening in the world of real estate and how it impacts you and your business. This is episode 396. Today is June the 22nd, and as always, I'm your real estate influencer and host, Nick Kromitis, CEO of the South Carolina Realtors. So grab your coffee, and don't forget to stick around for our Don't Do That segment today. We got a good one. So let's get right into it. I am here carrying some fresh hardware right off of our trip from Washington, D.C. The Realtor legislative meetings took place last week, and what an incredible week it was. Normally, these meetings take place in May, but it's kind of complicated. But for whatever reason, they were held in June this year, and that timing could not have been better. Because why? June is home ownership month. And I'll highlight in a minute why that timing was so good. Our South Carolina members, almost 200 realtors, the largest South Carolina delegation we've ever had go to Capitol Hill, met last week with both of our two U.S. senators. Now, the House of Representatives was on furlough last week, so we got to meet with staff, chief legislative aides, staffs. We did not get to meet with the House members directly. But we made sure that the voice of Palmetto State property owners was heard loud and clear, advocating heavily for housing inventory solutions, tax protections for homeowners, and policies that keep the dream of home ownership accessible right here at home in South Carolina. I want to thank again all of our South Carolina members that made this trip to advocate for our industry on behalf of all of our 30,000 members. And speaking of our work in D.C., as I mentioned, our Hill visits could not have been timed better. Past President Keon Aldrich and our political director, Louis DeTore, actually got to watch in person from the Senate gallery as the U.S. Senate officially passed one of the most historic bipartisan housing packages ever. The 21st Century Road to Housing Act cleared the floor by an 87-8 vote. Even better than that, this landmark was spearheaded and brokered right here by South Carolina's own Senator Tim Scott. It represents the most comprehensive, most bipartisan housing bill Congress has advanced in more than 30 years. So what does this mean for us back home in the Palmetto State? Well, it helps unlock inventory. It directly tackles our severe housing shortage by cutting federal red tape and giving our local South Carolina communities new tools to streamline housing development, accelerating construction. This will help boost rural and manufactured housing. It manufactures. It modernizes the federal financing rules. It provides greater flexibility for FHA appraisals and significantly strengthens loan programs for rural and manufactured housing, which is a massive structural win for our rural counties in South Carolina. And this bill does a lot to support our veterans. It also updates the VA loan program to ensure our military veterans across all of our state, across all of our country, can fully utilize their housing benefits without unfair friction. This bill is a direct result of realtor advocacy in action, and we're pushing hard to keep this momentum going as it heads to the president's desk, which NAR staff tells us could happen any day now. Also on the horizon is the continued talk of capital gains, increasing those exclusions. I think those are still on the docket, hopefully for the fall session of Congress. Now, in between the Hill visits, there were some major RPAC announcements, major RPAC meetings. Legal Action Committee approved funding for a South Carolina short-term rental case. The RPAC trustees recognized South Carolina as one of nine states in the country to meet our President's Cup goals last year. Now, this is not the actual 2025 Cup. This is the 2021 Cup. This is a pretty reasonable facsimile of the real cup that we're going to be getting in the mail in the next few weeks. I want to thank all of our RPAC investors. Now, after all the business and governance meetings, there were residential, commercial, economic updates. Go to NAR NAR's research page for all the latest PowerPoints, and you'll want to know what our economist Lawrence Yune's predictions were. But following all of that, the way every NAR meeting ends after almost a full week of governance and other policy meetings, it ends with a board of directors meeting. So the board of directors convened on Thursday last week to make some critical decisions about the association's future. So here are the top three. Yeah, I can't count. Here are the top three. My fingers aren't cooperating. Here are the top three highlights that you need to know from the meeting. First and foremost, dues are staying steady. There's the board of directors approved finance committee's recommendation, meaning that national dues remain the same for 2027. NAR is budgeting on a projected baseline of 1.2 million members nationally. However, national membership is still hovering around the 1.4 million. And that number has not really changed in the last 12 months. It also means that the consumer advertising campaign assessment structure will carry forward unchanged. Those are the realtor ads you see on various national outlets. Also, during the board of directors meeting, there was a pretty, this doesn't happen very often at the board meeting, but there was a pretty heated debate, I should say passionate discussion on the floor regarding a proposed addition to the Code of Ethics. The Professional Standards Committee had proposed a new standard of practice. This would have been 1-17, which would have required members to formally disclose to a client if they lacked the specific geographical or property type knowledge required for a transaction. For example, a realtor whose primary business was residential but selling a commercial property, or someone who primarily practiced in Myrtle Beach, for example, but was selling property in Greenwood, South Carolina, that they would have to disclose that they were outside of their area of scope or practice or expertise. Now, while this goal was pushing professionalism, many directors worried that the wording was just a little too vague. And after a healthy floor debate, the board voted 497 to 356 to send it back to the Professional Standards Committee for a little more fine-tuning. Now, one rule that did pass out of professional standards, the board approved a recommendation stating that any request for compensation from a seller of an unlisted property, a FSBO, must be made no later than when the offer is being presented rather than at first contact. So a small change in that code section. The board also approved a new leadership team, which will be led by incoming President Christine Hansen in 2027. She's from Florida, and President-elect Colin Mullane from Oregon. That'll be your new president-elect for the coming year. There was a highly competitive, contested race for treasurer with Patty Fitzgerald of Florida winning to serve for a 2-year term. That's 27 and 28. And I want to give a very special shout out to our very own South Carolina realtor, Todd Beckstrom, who was officially approved as the 2027 National Liaison for Law and Policy. Now, if you don't know what a NAR liaison is, these are hand-appointed individuals by the National Association president who will be their eyes and ears for that, whatever section they're responsible for. So Todd's got law and policy. That'll include legal action. That'll include a number of other committees that he'll be responsible for reporting directly back to the NAR Executive Committee and leadership team. We're incredibly proud to have South Carolina leadership guiding national policy next year. And also want to give a shout out to all of our NAR directors, our FPCs, our current members of the Executive Committee, past President Cindy Creamer, Corwin Millett, our current president, who led the delegation successfully last week. What a great week, very productive week in Washington. So, Mike, I think it's time for our Don't Do That segment. Did you pick up that gong? Hopefully that gong didn't pick up. Well, welcome back. The South Carolina Real Estate Commission has issued a new Teams update. Now, while we were in D.C. last week, the Real Estate Commission posted a new guidance letter regarding real estate team names, advertising, and marketing. Now, these guidance letters are posted on the face of the Real Estate Commission's website. They don't push these out. We don't get email updates saying, hey, this just got posted. We know when these are being debated by the commission during their normal monthly meetings. We don't always know when they're going to come out. So surprise, surprise, last week we got a new guidance letter. And as always, these are very helpful in answering and guiding our members through the practice of real estate. Now, many of you know that there's a strict new version of Section 4057-360. This is the team advertising name section that officially takes place a little bit less than a year from now, May 15th, 2027. Now, the commission has explicitly stated that they've given the licensees this very long runway, this implementation timeline, so that members can start transitioning their materials now. In fact, they've noted that even if you update your marketing to comply with the new 2027 standards, they're going to give you their stamp of approval. But based on the latest guidance, here are the absolute don'ts you need to scrub from your business immediately to ensure that you're not in violation. So, first and foremost, going forward, don't call your team a company. Your team name cannot imply that it is a separate entity from your brokerage. Using words like company or realty in a team name is misleading and could lead to possible discipline from the Real Estate Commission. Don't use illegal phrasing formats, and I'll explain what I mean by this. The General Assembly placed the naming convention, the naming rules, in strict quotation marks in the statute. When the legislature puts things in quotes in statute, there's no wiggle room. There's no gray area. It's got to be exactly what is inside of those quotes. So going forward, your team names must follow this exact format. It's team name, whatever it is. Let's say ABC team at, and then insert the name of your real estate brokerage firm. So, for example, the Smith team at ABC Real Estate Company. Now, if your signs or social media graphics just say the Smith team with a tiny broker logo hidden at the bottom, don't do that. You can't use abbreviations. You can't use nicknames. You can't use logos as a substitute for your brokerage firm name. It has to be your full brokerage full name as it appears on your license. Now, the size matters here. Don't oversize your team name in your marketing formats, whether it's social media, billboards, digital, SEO, etc. Your team name cannot be more than twice the size, prominence, or frequency of your brokerage firm's full name. So if your team font is in an 18-point font and your brokerage name is in an 8-point font, you are over the double size limit, and that's something you shouldn't do. It's a violation of the statute. And the last thing I'll remind you is don't call yourself a CEO. If you're a team leader, don't advertise that you're the owner, president, CEO of that team. You do not own a separate brokerage entity. The commission states that you may legally refer to yourself as a team leader, but don't use those other terms which could lead to an allegation of misleading or false advertising. Take a look at your current flyers, signs, and social media templates this week and get ahead of this transition so that you're not looking in your rearview mirror for those Real Estate Commission police. Those are air quotes, Mike. Those aren't as official as legislator quotes, just so that you stay ahead of those problems, guys. So that's our Don't Do That segment for this week. All right, guys, we're back. NAR CEO Nakia Wright wrapped up things last week in D.C. by letting us know that a full progress report on the National Association's new strategic plan will be landing in member inboxes this July. and the board is slated to reconvene at NAR NXT, which I guess stands for next. I'm not sure what that stands for, but it's NAR's annual conference in New Orleans in November. The takeaway, your national association is financially stable, focused heavily on compliance, and actively fighting for your business every single day. So, Mike, I think we're going to wrap up for this week. Please keep an eye on our social media channels for full photo galleries of our Hill visits, and make sure you review that LLR Real Estate Commission guidance letter on their website. Realtors, thank you for tuning in, and be sure to subscribe so that you never miss one of our updates. Let's finish. Man, I was going to finish this update on a strong. Let's finish June strong. Stay safe, and we'll see you again next week, everyone. Take care.